wild Mustang named Arrow stands frozen just outside the stable, his body trembling in the summer heat. His eyes are wide with fear, and when Jack Henderson, his longtime owner, gently tries to lead him in, Arrow rears up violently. This is no ordinary spook. This is a horse that once trusted Jack completely, now using every ounce of his strength to stay away from a place he used to enter without hesitation. What could cause such a dramatic change in a once rehabilitated Mustang? What hidden force turned a safe space into a place of terror? When Jack finally uncovers what lies beneath the rotting floorboards of his family's old stable, he stumbles back in horror. His face turns pale as the awful truth begins to sink in. What he finds doesn't just change his life, it shakes the entire town of Meadowbrook to its core. For decades, powerful men have hidden something deadly, something that now threatens thousands of lives and the fragile ecosystem around them. Strange illnesses begin spreading through the valley, and as pressure mounts for Jack to stay quiet, he and Arrow find themselves in the middle of an unexpected fight, one that goes far beyond horses and hay bales. With Jack's estranged son returning to help uncover the truth, the bond between man and wild horse becomes a lifeline. Arrow had sensed what no human could see, and if they don't act fast, it may be too late for everyone in Meadowbrook. Before we continue, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe, because tomorrow's episode is a wild one you won't want to miss. As the sun rises over the rolling hills of Meadowbrook, Montana, the shadows stretch long across Whispering Pines Farm. Jack Henderson, a rugged 62-year-old with calloused hands and deep-set eyes, walks toward the paddock. Grazing peacefully is Arrow, a striking black Mustang with a bold white blaze. 6 months earlier, Jack found him injured and starving on the edge of his land, likely separated from his herd during a thunderstorm. Everyone told Jack to call animal control, but he didn't. Instead, he brought the Mustang back to life with patience, care, and quiet moments just like this. "Morning, boy," Jack calls softly, shaking a bucket of oats. Arrow lifts his head, ears perked, and trots over to the fence. Jack still can't believe the transformation from a wild, terrified animal to this calm and trusting companion. He strokes Arrow's strong neck. "Time for your run, then breakfast," he says with a smile, clipping on the lead rope and opening the gate. They begin their morning ritual, walking together across the land as the scent of wildflowers and fresh grass fills the early June air. Moments like these have helped Jack heal, especially after losing his wife Maggie 5 years ago. But as they near the red wooden stable, standing for 3 generations on Henderson soil, everything changes. Arrow halts. His ears pin flat, his body goes stiff. "What's wrong, boy?" Jack tugs gently on the rope, but Arrow won't budge. His nostrils flare. He snorts and backs away. "Easy now," Jack soothes, confused. Just yesterday, Arrow walked into that same stable without a second thought. He tries again, stepping ahead and gently pulling. That's when Arrow rears, hooves slicing the air, nearly yanking the rope from Jack's hands. "Whoa, easy." Jack steps back, giving Arrow room. The horse stands shaking, eyes locked on the stable, muscles twitching under his sleek coat. From across the field, 19-year-old farmhand Daniel Cooper jogs over, wiping sweat from his brow. "Everything all right, Mr. Henderson?" Jack shakes his head. He won't go in. Never seen him like this. "Let me try." Daniel gently takes the lead rope, speaking softly, but Arrow plants his hooves, trembling, refusing to take even one step closer. "That's really strange," Daniel mutters, handing the rope back. "He was totally fine yesterday." "I'll try something else," Jack says. He walks to a nearby paddock and brings out Dusty, his older chestnut mare. Arrow watches as Dusty enters the stable without hesitation. Jack leads her back out, hoping Arrow will follow her lead. Instead, the opposite happens. Arrow reacts even more violently, rearing higher and whinnying with distress. Jack loosens the rope, not wanting to harm him. "Something's got him spooked bad," Daniel says quietly. Jack just stares at the stable, trying to make sense of it. "I'm calling Dr. Mitchell." Inside the cozy farmhouse kitchen with faded gingham curtains Maggie once sewed and old family photos covering the walls, Jack dials the number. One photo shows Jack and Maggie on their wedding day. Another with their son Tom, taken long before college and the years of silence that followed. The phone rings. On the third ring, a voice answers. Large animal vet, Dr. Sarah Mitchell speaking. Sarah, Jack says, voice tight. It's Jack Henderson. I've got a situation with Arrow. Her voice on the phone instantly sharpens. Is he injured? No, Jack replies quickly. It's not like that. He won't go near the stable. Panic level fear. I've never seen him like this, especially not Arrow. There's a pause. Has anything changed in the stable recently? New tools, chemicals, a new animal? Nothing, Jack says, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. It's exactly the same as yesterday when he went in just fine. Any changes in feed or water? None. Dr. Mitchell exhales. Could be a number of things. Horses are incredibly sensitive. Air pressure, underground vibrations, even a predator's scent lingering from the night before. I can come by around 4 this afternoon. I'd really appreciate that, Jack says, and they hang up. Back outside, Daniel has returned Arrow to the paddock. The Mustang looks calmer now, though his gaze keeps drifting toward the stable, ears twitching, muscles alert. Dr. Mitchell coming? Daniel asks. Later today, Jack confirms. In the meantime, let's take another look inside. Maybe there's something we missed. Inside the stable, sunlight filters through high windows, casting beams across dust motes drifting in the air. The familiar smells of hay, leather, and wood welcome them. 6 stalls, neatly lined on both sides. A tack room at the end. Hay stored in the loft above. Everything looks as it always has. They check each stall carefully. Nothing seems off. Looks normal to me, Daniel says, brushing hay from his hands. Jack nods, but still can't shake the feeling crawling up his spine. He kneels inside Arrow's usual stall and presses his hand to the floor. One corner feels damp. Odd, considering they haven't had rain in weeks. Daniel, grab me that flashlight from the tack room, would you? As he waits, Jack presses down on the damp wood. It gives ever so slightly, more than it should. When Daniel returns, Jack shines the light across the floor and notices a narrow crack between 2 boards, barely visible but unlike the rest of the stable's tight seams. Hand me that pry bar, Jack says, motioning to the wall. With slow, careful movements, he works the bar between the boards. They lift far too easily. A dark void yawns beneath them. Then the smell hits. A pungent chemical stench rises from the opening, sharp and sour. Both men instinctively recoil. What is that? Daniel asks, pulling his shirt over his nose. Jack leans closer and shines the flashlight down into the darkness. The beam catches the edge of something metallic. Timber supports. Old. Weathered. Reinforced tunnels. I'll be damned, Jack murmurs. Part of the old silver mine. My grandfather talked about them, said they were all sealed up back in the 40s. Daniel squints down into the dark. That doesn't smell like silver dust, Mr. Henderson. That smells like chemicals. Jack's gut tightens. He moves the light deeper into the tunnel, and there, against the far wall, are metal drums. Some rusted, some intact. Warning labels faded, but still visible. A slow trickle of dark liquid leaks from one of them, seeping through the soil, right beneath the stable floor. Jack's face drains of color. My God, he whispers. It's not just the stable. That's leaching into the groundwater. The entire farm could be contaminated. Daniel stares, wide-eyed. Who would do this? Before Jack can respond, the crunch of tires on gravel breaks the silence. They quickly replace the boards and step outside. A sleek black SUV pulls into the driveway. Out steps Mayor Richard Wilson, tall, silver-streaked hair, an expensive suit that screams City Hall, not farm life. Jack! The mayor calls out with a polished grin. Just the man I was hoping to see. Jack wipes his hands on his jeans, wary. Mayor Wilson, he nods. Didn't expect company. Call me Richard, please. We've known each other too long for formalities. The mayor claps Jack's shoulder, eyes scanning the dust and tension on Jack's face. I was hoping to catch you. Got some exciting news about the town's development plans. Is that so? Jack replies flatly. Wilson glances at Daniel, then back to Jack. Mind if we talk in private? Town business. Jack turns to Daniel. Check on Arrow for me, would you? Once they're alone, Wilson's tone shifts slightly. Still friendly, but there's an edge beneath it. I'll get straight to it, Jack. The town council just greenlit a major infrastructure expansion. Your property, specifically the stream that runs through it, is a key access point for the project. Crystal Creek? Jack asks, already knowing the answer. Exactly. Wilson's grin widens. We're prepared to make a very generous offer for water rights and a small easement. Triple market value, in fact. Jack narrows his eyes. That's quite the coincidence, Richard. You showing up right when I find what? The mayor cuts in smoothly, smile never fading, but his eyes sharpen. Jack pauses. Instinct tells him to tread carefully. Just thinking more about the future, he says. Getting older, can't run this place forever. Something flickers in Wilson's expression. Relief. Too quick for most to notice, but Jack does. Exactly why this offer makes sense, Wilson says, pulling a folder from the SUV. Take your time, look it over. I think you'll find it more than fair. Jack accepts the folder without opening it. I'll give it a look, he says quietly. We'll need your answer within the week, Wilson says, his eyes drifting toward the stable. How's that wild Mustang of yours, still trying to tame him? Arrow's doing fine, Jack replies, keeping his tone deliberately vague. Wilson nods, but there's something calculating behind his friendly facade. Well, don't let me keep you from your work. Think about the offer, Jack. It's a real chance to secure your future. As the mayor drives off, Jack doesn't move. He just stands there, the folder still in his hands, a cold knot forming in his stomach. The timing is too perfect. Wilson knows something. He knows about the tunnel. The real question is, how involved is he? At exactly 4 p.m., Dr. Sarah Mitchell pulls up in her well-worn pickup. She steps out, tall, no nonsense, with auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail and sleeves rolled to her elbows. Jack, she says warmly, grabbing her vet bag from the truck bed. Where's our patient? Jack leads her to the paddock. Arrow watches them approach, alert but calm. He trusts Sarah. She's treated him many times since his rescue. He seems physically fine, she says after a thorough exam. Vitals are normal. No signs of pain or illness. It's not his body I'm worried about, Jack explains, recounting the strange events of the morning, Arrow's refusal to enter the stable, the panic, the way he fought to stay away. He debates telling her about what he found under the floorboards. Not yet. Not until he's sure. Let's try walking him toward the stable, Sarah suggests. I want to see his response for myself. As they approach, Arrow's behavior shifts, just as Jack had described. The closer they get, the more unsettled he becomes. Then he rears, jerking the rope, snorting in terror. Sarah struggles to keep hold of him. Whoa, easy, boy, she murmurs, calming him with gentle strokes. You weren't exaggerating. Something about that stable has him terrified. Any theories? Jack asks. She shakes her head. Horses have razor-sharp instincts. They can sense things, smells, sounds, even pressure changes in the ground. That's how they survive in the wild. Jack thinks of the tunnel, the chemical stench. Arrow's instincts had kicked in long before any human suspected danger. So, he might be sensing something dangerous? It's possible, Sarah says. Have you noticed anything unusual, strange sounds, odd smells? Jack hesitates, then makes a decision. There's something you should see. He leads her into the stable and reveals the loose floorboards. When he shines the flashlight into the space below, Sarah's face tightens with concern. What are those? She asks, her voice low. Leaking chemical drums, Jack replies. Looks like industrial waste, and it's seeping into the soil. Sarah kneels beside him, her expression grave. Jack, this is serious. If that stuff's getting into the groundwater... I know, Jack says. And right after we found it, Mayor Wilson showed up, talking about buying the water rights to Crystal Creek. Coincidence? Sarah's eyes narrow. You think he's involved? I don't know. But someone's been dumping this stuff in the old mine tunnels, and now they want to own the land sitting right above it. Sarah runs a hand through her hair, visibly shaken. You need to report this. The EPA, state environmental officials, someone. And say what? Jack replies bitterly. That I found mystery barrels under my stable with no idea who put them there. Sarah looks at him, steady. Then what are you going to do? Jack carefully replaces the boards. First, I need to find out exactly what we're dealing with. Then I figure out who's behind it. They step outside. The sun is low in the sky now, casting long golden shadows across the farm. Arrow stands in the paddock, watching them intently. No wonder he refused to go in, Sarah says softly. He was trying to protect you. Jack nods slowly. Smart boy. He sensed the danger long before we even had a clue. Then, in the fading light, Jack turns to Sarah. I need a favor. Can you test a water sample from my well, quietly? Sarah pauses, only for a moment. I know someone at the university lab in Cedar Valley. I'll be discreet. I'd appreciate that, Jack says, his voice low. Something tells me this is bigger than a few barrels hidden under a barn. That night, as moonlight bathes the fields of whispering pines, Jack sits on the porch with a glass of whiskey, his thoughts heavy. Out in the paddock, Arrow stands still, his silhouette outlined by silver light, facing the stable like a sentinel. Tomorrow, Jack knows, he'll have to make a choice. Who can he trust? How far does this go? But for now, one thing is certain. Someone or something on this farm recognized the threat long before the truth came to light. If you're still with us, thank you for watching. Stories like this take hours of research and care to bring to life, so if you're enjoying it, hit that subscribe button. It really means the world to us. Now, let's get back to the story. Morning comes wrapped in heavy fog. From his kitchen window, Jack watches the mist swirl around the stable, coffee in hand, sleep barely touching him. His mind races with everything they've uncovered. Then the phone rings, slicing through the silence. Jack, it's Sarah. I need you to come to the clinic, now! Her voice is sharp, urgent. What is it? Not over the phone. Just get here. 30 minutes later, Jack walks into the Meadow Brook Veterinary Clinic. Sarah meets him at the door, ushering him to her back office, and quietly shuts the door behind them. Sarah's face is tight with concern as she unfolds a test report on her desk. I pulled some strings to fast-track your water sample, she says, tapping a red highlighted section. And Jack, it's bad. She doesn't sugarcoat it. The results show extremely high levels of industrial solvents, heavy metals, and chemical byproducts consistent with manufacturing waste. Jack stares at the page. The worst-case scenario, confirmed. How bad? He asks. Bad enough that long-term exposure could lead to serious illness, Sarah says quietly. And if this is getting into the groundwater, it could already be affecting your crops, your animals, even your neighbors. Jack's jaw clenches. Crystal Creek runs through my land. It flows downstream to half the farms in this valley. Sarah nods grimly, and eventually, into the river that supplies Meadowbrook's drinking water. Jack rubs his weathered hand across his face. I need to report this. There's more, Sarah adds, her tone darkening. After seeing those barrels, I did some digging. Western Chemical Solutions just opened a processing site outside town. They're owned by a holding group called Wilson Enterprises. Jack freezes. Wilson, as in Mayor Wilson? Sarah nods. His brother James sits on the board. Jack's voice hardens. No wonder he's suddenly so interested in buying my water rights. He's not protecting the town. He's covering up the evidence. A knock at the door cuts the moment short. Sarah quickly folds the report and slips it across the desk. Jack tucks it into his coat just as her assistant pokes her head in. Dr. Mitchell? Mayor Wilson is here, says it's urgent. Jack and Sarah exchange sharp looks. Show him in, Sarah says calmly. The mayor steps in as polished as ever. His tailored suit, pristine smile, it's all image. But his smile falters slightly when he sees Jack in the room. Jack, he says smoothly. Didn't expect to see you here. Everything all right with your horses? Routine visit, Jack replies, flat and unreadable. Wilson turns to Sarah. Doctor, I was hoping to get your input on the new animal control regulations the council's discussing. He glances at Jack. But perhaps we should schedule a better time. Actually, Sarah says, not missing a beat, Jack and I were just talking about some concerns regarding local water quality and its impact on livestock. Maybe you'd like to weigh in? A flicker of irritation passes across Wilson's face, quickly replaced by his trademark charm. I haven't heard about any water issues, he says lightly. All our municipal testing is within normal limits. We're talking about private wells, Jack clarifies, specifically around the old mine sites. Wilson's smile tightens. Those mines have been sealed for decades. If there was contamination, we'd have known long ago. Unless someone reopened them, Jack says coldly, used them to dump something. The temperature in the room seems to drop. Wilson clears his throat and straightens his tie. About that easement, Jack, I hope you're seriously considering it. The council's eager to move forward. I'll bet they are, Jack replies. But I'm not selling my rights to Crystal Creek. Wilson's smile doesn't budge, but the edges crack. This development project is vital to Meadowbrook's future. We'd hate to invoke eminent domain, but for infrastructure needs, it's sometimes necessary, nothing personal. Jack's eyes flash. Is that a threat, Richard? A reality, Wilson replies, glancing at his watch. Doctor, Jack. He heads to the door but pauses. One last thing, Jack, he says, his voice dripping with warning. Be careful where you dig on that land. Those mine tunnels can be unstable. The door closes. The silence in the room is thick. That wasn't subtle, Sarah mutters. No, Jack says, eyes narrowed. He knows exactly what's down there, and he just warned me to keep quiet. Sarah leans in. Jack, these people aren't just corrupt. If they're dumping toxic waste and hiding it, they're poisoning an entire valley. Jack stands slowly, determination settling in his face like armor. Then I need proof. Something that ties them directly to those barrels, and I'll need help. Sarah meets his eyes. Who can you trust? Jack turns toward the window. His mind's already moving. Maybe it's time my son came home. Back at the farm, Daniel is walking the horses, keeping everything looking normal. Arrow trots along the fence, still casting uneasy glances toward the stable. Mr. Henderson? Daniel calls out. Everything okay at the vet? Jack pulls him aside, voice low. Daniel, what I'm about to tell you, it puts you at risk. If you want out, I won't hold it against you. Daniel's expression shifts, no longer just a farmhand, but a young man standing on the edge of something bigger. What's going on? Jack explains it all, the chemicals, the tunnel, the mayor's connection to the company responsible, and the danger facing the entire valley. Daniel's face goes pale. That's evil. Those chemicals could poison people for years. They might already be, Jack says. We have to gather evidence, but quietly. They're watching now. Daniel nods, jaw set. Tell me what to do. Keep working like everything's normal. Eyes open, mouth shut. If anyone asks, we found nothing in the stable. You can count on me, Daniel says. As Daniel walks off, Jack returns to his study, a small room lined with books and farming journals. He sits heavily at the desk, staring at the phone. 5 years. 5 years of birthdays and holidays reduced to stiff phone calls and silence. But now wasn't about pride. It was about doing the right thing. He dials. 40 miles away, in an office lined with family photos, Thomas Henderson, Jack's son, sits behind a desk. Pictures of his wife Claire, their daughter Lucy, even his late mother Maggie, but none of Jack. His assistant's voice crackles through the intercom. Tom, there's a Jack Henderson on line 1. Tom freezes. His hand hovers, then finally picks up. Dad? Jack's voice is older than he remembered. I need your help, son. It's serious. What kind of help? Tom's voice is cautious. I found something on the farm. Toxic waste. It's leaking into the groundwater. And it's heading toward Meadowbrook's supply. Tom runs a hand through his hair, just like his father used to. Dad, if this is just an excuse to... It's not about us, Jack says sharply. This is real, and people could die. Silence. Heavy. Then, finally, Tom exhales. Okay, I'm listening. I'll come tomorrow, Tom says after a long pause. Alone. I need to see everything for myself. Thank you, Jack replies, hesitating for just a moment before asking, How's Claire? And Lucy? They're good, Tom says, his voice softening slightly. Lucy asked about the farm again last week. She's always welcome, Jack says quietly. You both are. Tom exhales. Let's deal with one thing at a time, Dad. I'll see you in the morning. That evening, Jack sits on his porch, watching the sun dip below the edge of his fields. Arrow grazes nearby, calm yet ever watchful, lifting his head now and then to glance toward the stable. A low engine growl cuts through the quiet. Jack looks up to see a black SUV, identical to the one Wilson drives, creeping slowly past the property before continuing on. His stomach tightens. No headlights. No reason to be out here. The message is clear. Someone is watching. That night, Jack doesn't sleep much. He checks on Arrow 3 times. Each time, the Mustang stands near the fence, facing the stable like a sentry guarding something unseen. Around midnight, Jack retrieves an old trail camera from his equipment shed, the kind hunters use to track deer. The batteries still work. Just before dawn, he mounts it in a tree with a clear line of sight to the stable. He moves quickly but quietly, collecting water samples from 3 locations: the well, Crystal Creek, and a pooling puddle near the slope outside the stable. Each vial goes into sterile containers Sarah provided, carefully labeled and sealed. As the first light of morning sweeps across the land, a silver sedan crunches down the gravel drive. Tom steps out. He's taller than Jack remembers, dressed in business casual slacks and a collared shirt that feel completely out of place against the dust and grit of the farm. Still, the resemblance is unmistakable. Same steady gaze, same stubborn jaw. Dad, he says with a nod. Tom, Jack replies. He wants to embrace him, but the years between them are thick. Thanks for coming. They stand in the yard like 2 men who were once close, but now speak in polite echoes. So, Tom says finally, show me what you found. Jack leads him toward the stable. As they approach, Arrow lifts his head from the grass, eyes locked on the stable door. Tom pauses, taking in the Mustang. That the wild horse you rescued? Yeah, Jack nods. That's Arrow. He's the reason I found any of this. Refused to go in that stable. Freaked out like I've never seen. Tom studies the animal. Smart horse. Smarter than I was, Jack mutters as he pushes open the stable door. Inside, Jack shows him the hidden floorboards, the tunnel beneath. Tom's expression shifts instantly, no longer the son, but the engineer. He pulls out a compact camera, begins documenting angles, lighting, the barrels, then readings, instruments. Jack watches in quiet awe. These are industrial drums, no doubt, Tom confirms. And recent. The corrosion, leakage, it's not from the mining days. This is fresh. Can you tell what's in them? Tom shakes his head. Not without a full lab panel, but based on smell, condition, and residue. Solvents for sure. Maybe benzene. Possibly heavy metals. The kind of stuff you'd find in waste from a chemical processing facility. How bad is it, Jack asks. For the farm? Tom pauses. Bad. For Meadowbrook? Potentially catastrophic. If this has reached the aquifer, it could spread for miles. He looks his father in the eye. We need to report this. To who? Jack snaps. The mayor owns the company behind it. His brother's on the board. He's already tried to buy me out. You think reporting this ends well? Tom blinks. Mayor Wilson? Jack nods. Western Chemical Solutions. It's his family's company, and he's trying to make this go away. Tom's expression turns from professional to furious. That's not corruption. That's a felony. That's why I need ironclad proof, Jack says. A sudden noise outside cuts him off. A truck pulling into the far end of the drive. 2 men in matching work uniforms step out and begin walking toward the house. Wilson's people, Jack whispers. We've got to hide this. They move fast, replacing the boards, scattering hay. Jack guides Tom out the back just as the men reach the front. "Mr. Henderson?" one calls out. "Meadowbrook Water Department. We're here for routine well testing." Jack rounds the corner, meeting them with a tight smile. "Don't remember scheduling a visit." The taller one smiles, lips thin. "New protocol. Mayor's orders. All Crystal Creek properties are being checked." "That right?" Jack says, keeping his tone casual. "Well's over by the house. Follow me." As they walk, Jack studies them. Their boots are too clean, their hands too soft. These aren't water techs. They're scouts. "New guys?" Jack asks. "Don't recognize either of you." "Transferred from Cedar Valley," the tall one says quickly. At the well, they go through the motions, but Jack can tell they're not doing it right. No sterile containers, no documentation, just a performance. As they wrap up, the shorter one glances toward the stable. "Nice old building. Always loved historic farm structures. Mind if we take a look inside?" "Another time," Jack replies firmly. "Got a lot to do today." The two men hesitate, then leave without further questions. Jack watches the truck disappear down the road. Inside, Tom is reviewing Sarah's initial water sample report. "They weren't from the water department," Jack says as he closes the door. "Nope," Tom replies. "They were checking to see how far we've gotten, which means we need to move fast." Jack sits down across from his son. "What's our next step?" Tom taps the reports. "These samples are a start, but we'll need more than just contamination data. We need forensic-level testing. We have to prove the chemicals in your soil and water match the waste coming from Western Chemicals' site. Only then can we link them publicly and legally." Jack and Tom discover barrels of toxic waste on Jack's farm, illegally dumped and connected to Western Chemical. Tom, an environmental engineer, realizes they need hard evidence. They enter old mine tunnels beneath the stable, risking exposure to dangerous chemicals to collect samples. In the darkness, they overhear Wilson's men confirming plans to move the waste and seal the tunnels. Narrowly avoiding detection, they photograph evidence linking the dumping site directly to Western Chemicals' facility. Back home, they're shaken, but determined. Sarah, the local vet, arrives with news. Livestock are getting sick, and people too, many unknowingly exposed through contaminated water. The situation escalates when Wilson's men launch a smoke bomb into Jack's home, and the sheriff arrives with a warrant to arrest him for theft. But with Sarah filming and townspeople arriving to defend Jack, the sheriff begins to doubt Wilson's motives. That night, Jack catches Wilson's men trying to remove more evidence. Arrow, Jack's Mustang, distracts them with loud warning calls, helping Jack avoid danger. Sheriff Parker arrives again, this time to warn Jack. Wilson is panicking and destroying evidence. Jack and Tom immediately leave to deliver their findings to the EPA. At the EPA office, Rebecca Ferguson agrees to launch an emergency investigation. As officials head to Meadowbrook, Wilson tries to control the narrative, blaming maintenance for the water shutdown. When Jack's property is suddenly sealed off by safety orders, the EPA intervenes, uncovering even more evidence, sealed barrels directly under a new part of the stable, thanks to Arrow's instincts. As Wilson is charged with multiple crimes, Meadowbrook begins healing. The town rallies behind Jack, who transforms his farm into a sanctuary for animals and environmental education. Arrow becomes a symbol of resilience and awareness, having alerted Jack to the contamination before any human could detect it. 1 year later, Whispering Pines Farm is reborn. The sanctuary thrives, school children visit, and Arrow leads new rescues with quiet leadership. The community, once poisoned by secrecy and greed, now stands united in recovery, truth, and purpose.